My Life on the Farm. Written by Mary Tilly Marcher. Read and compiled by Charity Cortez with much love. This book is dedicated to my children, Clinton and Elaine Marcher. One day, as I was wondering what to do, I thought, why don't I write about my life growing up on the farm? I really don't remember what went on the first few years, other than I played a lot. I like to think back to the farm where I grew up in the 30s during the Great Depression years. And this is my story as I remember it. Everything is okay in the end. And if it's not okay, then just know it's not the end. The farm was inherited by my dad, Henry Cecil Tilley, HC for short, from his parents. I don't remember them, although I do have a few pictures. There was a little house that his parents had lived in. He added a few more rooms to it. I can only remember them having 3. And it was to this farm that he brought his young bride, Elvina, in 1908. I am the 8th of 10 children, born December 2nd, 1928, on a chilly Sunday morning. The farm consisted of several acres of farmland and several acres of woods. It was a good land producing a livelihood for our large family. The Missouri Southern Railroad ran through our farm, dividing the fields, and we had Webb Creek with a wonderful swimming hole to fish and play in. A dirt road ran between the field and the house. After the cars and wagons passed the house going south, they went up a bank and out of sight for a few minutes. Then we could watch it going along the field and out of sight again. It may have been the Depression, but we were still well provided for. We had a big field with corn and sweet potatoes, white potatoes, cane sugar. We had peas planted with our corn and watermelon. We had an orchard and a huge garden. We had chickens. We had beehives. We had horses and cows, and we had a hog pen. We were so much more fortunate than others during the Depression. Dad had a glass eye. He accidentally stuck a knife in it when he was 17. He was whittling some wood. All those years, he had one eye to see with. Dad was a farmer and didn't have much education, but he could read and write, and he was good in math, and he could scale ties at his sawmill. He used a crosscut saw to fell the trees. They were trimmed right away, and the mules skidded the logs out of the woods. In his younger years, Dad put in the first telephone lines in our community. We didn't have electricity when I was small. It came much later, but we did have a telephone. In 1910, Dad and F.M. Copeland worked getting the first telephone line through Rubel. The following year, they reached Carter's Mill and connected it with a switch. Carter's Mill is now under Clearwater Lake. And in 1912, Dad had telephone supplies, parts, and services for our community. He operated the grist mill, and people from miles around came to have him grind their corn or wheat. He operated a little hand car on the railroad, and he got paid for it. Later in life, he quit farming, and he put the farm up for a mortgage so he and the boys could buy a sawmill. It was in Decker Holler. He also decided it was time to build us a new house. So we packed up and moved to a little house in Rubel until it was finished. I had the mumps and measles at this house. It was here that my oldest brother Felix died, and then another shock. It wasn't too much longer. Dad died too. George Sutton was good friends with Dad. He would come down and sit in front of the fireplace and talk for hours. He was the man who provided ice cream and dinner every 4th of July. Dad liked to pitch horseshoes in the yard with him. Dad and George would also take trips to Wapapella Lake to go fishing. Mom would clean off the fish, get the scales, take the insides out, roll them in cornmeal, and fry them up. Sometimes in the winter, they would go to Wapapella to get ice blocks to bring home for our ice boxes. The railroad was a big thing in our lives. I loved to hear the train whistle in our field. He and Mr. Herman Radke were real good friends. Mr. Radke was the president of the railroad. Dad let Mr. Radke hunt quail in our field. He had a beautiful bird dog, a pointer. It was beautiful in action, flushing out the bobwhite quail, and Mr. Radke would be shooting the quail from out of the sky. Mr. Radke would drop off a sack every Christmas from the train that had an orange, candy, and nuts for our family as thanks for hunting in our field. Dad also pumped water into the steam engine trains as they stopped in our field by the creek. The water was used to start their engines. He really was a jack of all trades.